Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Too Long Didn't Read Filmmaker, where the answers comes first, the reasons come last, but we're constantly and always still learning. So I know the thumbnail and the title is a little bit clickbaity, but hear me out, because I think if you read the writing on the wall, I think RØDE might actually be doing this. So check the date of this video, because if it actually does happen, awesome. Anyways, if you take a look at RØDE in terms of their wireless options, you really just have the Go and the Link. Now, the Link was made back in 2015, and as far as I'm concerned, hasn't really been updated since then. So I think they're fixing to do an update, but I think they're going to merge it in terms of the technology we're seeing in the RØDE Wireless Go. They're probably just going to get rid of the RØDE Link name and just call it RØDE Wireless Pro. So without further ado, let's go over the features I think would be coming to this RØDE Wireless Pro realistically, as well as a price point and when we could actually see this being released. So without further ado, let's get started. First and foremost, I believe the RØDE Wireless Pro is going to be a dual channel system versus a single channel system. So all the features I'm going to talk about is based on a dual channel system. And without further ado, the first feature, you want it, they know we want it, I want it. It's the internal 32-bit float recording. Now, the reason I don't think it's going to be in the RØDE Wireless Go 2 and rather it's going to be the RØDE Wireless Pro is simply because the transmitters on the Go, it's really small, and I don't think they actually put in a dual analog to digital conversion chip or whatever it is that they need in there to capture that maximum dynamic range. They need something a little bit bigger. So enter the RØDE Wireless Pro. It's probably going to be a little bit bigger, not by much. I figure it's going to either use 2 AA batteries, hopefully, or 2 AAA batteries. And basically, I'd say the size is going to be approximately like the Zoom F2, maybe a little bit bigger because we are doing the whole wireless bit. But that's what I'm thinking. The second thing you need to understand about this is you're probably not going to have like a micro SD card that you can slot in, take out, and go ahead and dump off the footage. Rather, I think it's still going to be internal storage, and you have to offload it with the RØDE Central app. And the reason I think this is going to happen this way is because I believe that's how they got past the US patent. Because guys, for us in the US, we couldn't have a system like this for the longest time, and I don't actually know how the patent is written out, but I believe the whole internal storage only and the RØDE Central app to process this proprietary audio format and then convert it over, I think that's how RØDE was able to get past this. So that's what I think in terms of 32-bit float internally. I would hope that we could get about 12 hours plus. If they could get 12 hours plus, I think that would be just enough. Obviously, the more, the better. But hopefully it's not something like 3 hours or 4 hours. Let's see if we can get 12 plus hours. All right, the second feature of the RØDE Wireless Pro is something I touched on just now in reason number 1, and that is using AA batteries or AAA batteries instead of a built-in battery. Now, there could be an argument for them to go with a built-in battery, but that's only assuming if they have some sort of quick charge technology where literally if you charge it for 15 minutes, you suddenly just get an additional 2 to 3 hours. I don't know, something like that. If they could do that and ensure that it works, cool. But otherwise, I personally would just rather have AA batteries or AAA batteries. They're readily available no matter where you go. And most people buy the nickel something, the NIMH, I can never remember, that rechargeable battery, the Panasonic N-Loop. Those are readily available for you to buy if you want to recharge your own, or if you are on set one day and you suddenly forgot batteries, you can just go to the nearest gas station, get yourself some batteries, and you're good for the rest of the day. But not only that, obviously in a professional environment, they would like to literally not wait 15 minutes. They just want to be like, boom, boom, take the batteries out, pop some new ones in, you're good to go for another 12 some hours. I would love for the battery operation to be 12 plus hours instead of trying to hit 8 hours, because most shoots are going to last 8 to 9 hours. Having that extra headroom up to 12 is great. If it can go even past 12 hours, that would just be even better. Moving right along, the third feature in this RØDE Wireless Pro is mic level sensitivity settings when it comes to the transmitter. The Go does not have this. It's doing it automatically and it has its own algorithm to try to get the best sound possible. But for professionals, we don't necessarily want that. That's more for quick videos, maybe for vlogger types that aren't going to take the time to do that necessarily. So for the pros, we want to set that level. So we know how loud the person's talking. We know where the mic capsule sensitivity is at. So we can always get the best consistent sound across the board. The fourth feature is playing off the fact that the RØDE Wireless Pro is most likely going to be a dual channel system. So we would like to actually have the ability to change the output levels of each channel. And that's something we don't have with the RØDE Wireless Go 2, but it would be great for the Pro, just in case if someone doesn't talk as loud or someone talks too loud, we can adjust their mic sensitivity and we can also adjust their output and try to equal it out so that when we're in post, we don't have to do as much work. All right, so the fifth feature is actually something from Nate from Nate's Film Tutorial, because when I sent him that concept Photoshop art and told him, wow, RØDE is making this, he was like, what? But at the same time, he goes, oh, I wish the receiver didn't look like that. And what he was trying to say was he wished that the receiver was redesigned. And I agree with him, because a lot of receivers these days, they might be compact, but they're put in such a way where it's not necessarily intuitive how it's being used, or they're too bulky. So in this case, I love the Hollyland Lark 150 receiver design. It's small, compact, it's square, and you have two rotary dials in the front, and they also serve as multifunction buttons to navigate around. So if the RØDE Wireless Pro had something like this, I would say kind of go off that design, make it nice and easy for the operator, but also have some 1/4-20s around so that you can either just add a little hot shoe thing to mount it traditionally, or if you have a cage, you can mount it as flush as possible to the cage. Or maybe on a gimbal, it could just fit right on the bottom side somewhere. Or if you're on a shoulder mount, that it's over here. I don't know. But make it so that it's really easy for us to mount it wherever we want. So those are the 5 features that RØDE is most likely to do for the RØDE Wireless Pro. The next 3 features I'm going to talk about is more unlikely, and that's most likely due to technical limitations, or it just might not necessarily be as intuitive as we would want. But nonetheless, let's see if these actually show up. The first one is timecode injection. Now, the only way a timecode injection would actually work is probably only for the internal recording itself. And that's because I'm theorizing that this is a dual channel system, which means that the receiver going into the camera is going to be using up the left and the right channel. And usually with the whole timecode thing, it would take away one of the channels. Your left channel will actually be the timecode generation that's happening. That's making a bunch of hiss and blip sounds. But you can't do that if you're doing a dual channel system. So really the timecode is only going to work on the transmitter's internal recordings. And that being said, it's most likely going to have to route back to a smartphone app whenever RØDE decides to make one. And that way you can basically time everything together. Now, the second thing is that the transmitters can record internally without the help of the receiver having to link up to them. Because right now, the RØDE Wireless Go 2, you have to have the receiver on linked with the transmitters for the transmitters to begin recording. So something tells me that RØDE is not going to do this. I don't know why, it's a gut feeling, but if they did, there's 2 ways for them to implement this. One is obviously the smartphone app. You use that to judge your levels, or if you want to not record in 32-bit float, blah, 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 basically exactly what the telesync does, and then you hit the record button. Or if you're in 32-bit float mode or what have you, maybe there's a separate button on the transmitter, or you click the RØDE button for 3 times, I don't know, some sort of button press to cause the recording to happen in the transmitter. And the third and final one was something I talked about in my initial review that you can see right here of the RØDE Wireless Go 2, and that is equalization firmware injection. So basically you can EQ your voice ahead of time because you know how your voice sounds in outdoors, blah, 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 and you can inject it into the transmitter or inject it into the receiver, and therefore you can use the receiver and select which EQ you would like, and that way you have a much better starting point. Or for those fast deliveries, if you have an EQ that sweetens up certain voices and you just have a bunch of presets, set it up, record, and you're good to go. All right, with all that out of the way, the price point. I think for this dual channel system, we're probably going to see it at $600 or $599. I could see them going all the way up to $699 or $700, and I would still be okay with that. Because keep in mind, you're most likely going to get two Rode lavalier mics, the Rode Link version with a TRS locking bit, and that is approximately $200 value should you buy them individually. So those sound great, and it's definitely going to help increase the value of this RØDE Wireless Pro. In terms of a timeline of when we could see something like this, it's not going to come out in 2021. I think the earliest we're going to see is mid of 2022, because most likely they're going to announce this at NAB 2022 Las Vegas, and then it's going to be available somewhere around the April to May, maybe June timeline. So mark that date. Check out the date of this video, because I am totally predicting that Rode is creating a RØDE Wireless Pro. And Rode, if you do, I would love to review it. And hey, that's it for this week, everybody. This is just a fun video, but if you are interested in the RØDE Wireless Go 2 for your wireless needs, I have a bunch of videos right up here, and I will link them down below. And of course, if this video makes all the influence in your purchasing decisions, I will truly appreciate it if you check out my Amazon affiliate links down below. Again, this costs nothing extra to you, just gives me a little compensation so I can continue making videos like this for you. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and link it down below. I will get to them as fast as I can. And until then, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.